Emergency button. Emergency button. One notification. Bible. 4 hours ago. Verse of the day. Therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. 2 Corinthians 5:17 KJV. Attachment.
Hello everyone, my name is Julian Bartlett. I am a member of the Coalition of Independence. Also, I hold the position of the Vice Chair Lady in Grand Bahama under the Coalition of Independence. As you can tell, I've been doing parts of the Vision 2030 under the Coalition of Independence plans for the way forward for the Bahamas with regards to politics. All right. I think so far I've covered the solutions under the Coalition of Independence, which I think is humanely put together with those in mind, even though the immigration issue wasn't something created by the Coalition of Independence because we've never governed. But presently we do have one seat in the House of Assembly, and that's far more than what many has done. But one of the topics I've covered under Coalition of Independence 2030 vision is the immigration solution. The second one was about good governance, because without good governance, you can't enforce any proper laws or do anything humanely. And honestly, we feel that diaspora has been disenfranchised by governments who have governed in our country for over 53 years, and they still didn't come up with a solution to help that country of origin that's plaguing our borders. But the COI has come up with some really quite sensible solutions, and we feel that saying that both the other two parties wasn't able or capable of maintaining that and making sure that those issues were solved, and now it lays on the feet of the Coalition of Independence leader, Mr. Lincoln Bain. So we have our solutions in 2030. So I covered those already. The second module that I covered on the city governments and transparent government, because without anything done transparently in the 21st century, it's definitely a problem, especially for us who seek knowledge and seek information. So we covered that on city governments, whereas you give the power back to the people, honestly, because these governments are not working. Integrity is important when you're governing a party or a country. We don't see the integrity extending into these politicians who have governed for over 53 years. The third module that I covered under Vision 2030 was on the natural resources. As Mr. Lincoln Bain this Sunday actually showed us in details and by contract how our natural resources were distributed for years. Contract signs from the 60s and right up to 2025, where we're waiting for this government to come to us a year ago, how our natural resources will be distributed to help the country of the Bahamas, not the individual party. So natural resources is a very good pet peeve of education and exposure for the general public, not just locally, but also internationally. The information is there for all to see on our website. And then my next module under the Coalition of Independence is Vision 2034. Its country, it's with regards to land. Now you can go on our website and you can see all the different modules with regards to what it will look like in the year 2026, because that's when we're having the election, and how we will have a point bullet explanation plan to move the Bahamas forward. Because again, we are in the 21st century. We are not in 1956, and I'm saying that particularly because one of our land laws were introduced by the British colony in 1956. Yeah, I don't want you to keep that there. And it was done because we wasn't independent in 1956. We became independent in 1973. We've been celebrating that. In 2026, we will be celebrating 54 years of independence. But back in 1956, the British, who we are aligned with because we are a British colony, there's nothing we can do about that, and we're not griping about that. The fact is they did have an input on land laws at the time, and I think one was called I think it's the Immovable Act or the Quieting Act, but I'll read through those and let you know exactly which one was introduced then. And then 17 years later, we became independent. And I can tell you from the top of my head, between 1956 to 2025, we've had 5 land laws. I don't know why so many. I don't get it. I mean, they had over 53 years to sort it out, but it hasn't been sorted out as yet. All right. So those were the 4 modules that I had spoken to with regards to immigration solutions, please, humanely, because the government have failed to solve that issue. And now that falls on our head to solve because they failed. And then we have city governments or good governance or government with integrity. That's on the 2nd module. And then the 3rd was basically on the natural resources. And the 4th, which is the same, land is natural resources. But land is an inheriting right under the crown that was left for the Bahamian people to be distributed fairly, correctly, for its people of origin. I feel at this point, along with the Coalition of Independence, according to our plans, that the land has been unfairly distributed to Bahamians who qualify to have it, and the government has overstepped. And this is why we rise up, and we speak against it. Another concern the COI have with regards to its land is the fact that at this present time, in 2025 going into 2026, the Bahamians have been dealt a raw deal. Too much bureaucracy for its local Bahamian citizens, whether you're on that side of politics or the other side of politics. There's been an unfair distribution. Now, maybe the government might not see this as unfair because obviously they're not listening to what we're saying. I think it was 2 weeks ago or last week, where they signed an agreement under the Grand Bahama Port Authority to expand the land for an expansion for the Grand Bahama Port container, which has given us another 200 jobs. Wow. This is where we are. Unfair distribution of land that belongs to the Bahamian in the 21st century have not been fairly distributed, and this is the dispute many Bahamians are speaking to. We're not talking rubbish. We're not coming with some rah and carrying on. This is where we are. And the Bahamians are concerned because the government, who's supposed to represent the voices of the people, who is supposed to represent the Bahamians in the Bahamas under our law land, to listen to what they're saying. Listen to what they're saying. They feel that the bureaucracy under the present government particularly has gone too far. It's an overreach. And the COI wants to bring that back to some equilibrium where there's a balance. The Bahamian people are also concerned with regards to the fact that we have all these law lands, right? And I think I read some of them to you. We have the Immovable Property Act. We have the Quieting Act. I think I said in details what they meant, and I'll read it again at the end. We have another act called the IPLA. I mean, international people holding, land holding, international people. We wonder which international people again. These are acts that were created sometime in 1993. And then we have the latest acts that were introduced in the late 2025 by this here government. The latest land laws, this one is called the Land Adjudication Act. It was passed in 2025 or laid on the table. I don't know. You figure it out what the government is doing, because we don't get it. And then they had another one. One wasn't enough. This is what I mean by overreaching. I don't understand these laws, but I know they exist. The last one was called the Registration Land Act, all put forth in the latter 2025 with an election right around the corner. We're trying to say, what is the government trying to do? If you had land laws presented to you from 1956, we became independent in 1973. We all know that, right? As we can see that, though they have not solved any of the matters with regards to why is it that we have 5 law for land. That is something the Bahamians need to ask themselves. So if this act in 1956 didn't work and then repeal it sometime in 1981, who were they repealing it for? Well, I can tell you, for instance, the Quieting Act title was a current law that was established for legal proceeding to determine and confirming a clear title of land. So that's okay, fine. But the previous act, which is the Immovable Act, what was introduced to the Bahamian society in 1956. But I guess it evolves in 1981, where the former law was restricted. We restricted foreign ownership of the land, and that has been repealed. So we're like, why all of this back and forth? Who are you trying to please? I mean, how much land can you allot to investments in our country? When we're gonna get to a point where we're saying enough is enough now, and how do we taper this? I'm asking the question, how do we taper this? Now the next law, the IPLA, the International Persons Land Holding Act in 1993. And they keep coming, and they keep coming. It's almost like, for me, from what I see, and there's a lot of details to these laws that needs to be imprinted. It sounds as if when one government comes in at a certain juncture, they switch. And then when the other one comes in, maybe 5 years, 10 years later, they switch. Now they switch to, and maybe this Land Adjudication Act and the Registration Land Act, maybe it's the answer. But again, did the Bahamians have proper consultation on this? Are there laws in place that can govern the land as is without these additional laws that was just introduced to the Bahamian people? And so again, we have a government who overreach with the perception as if we're not learned enough to figure out what they're doing without the proper consultation to its Bahamians. Now, the Coalition of Independence would like to, yes, and they said it in their 2030 vision with regards to dealing with, yes, where it's workable, equitably, evenly for the Bahamian people, because it is our time now, it's our time now, that they will make sure deal with the Immovable Property Act. It's written there, I've read it myself, and Mr. Bain is adamant about it, because for far too long, there's been an unequal balance with regards to land distribution. Again, to all concerned, we live in the Bahamas. We are called Bahamians, and it's unfair. At this juncture, we see the bureaucracy within our system with regards to when a Bahamian apply, and somebody have to stand up for that. I think, in hindsight of looking at all these 5 laws, I think the Bahamian government, who have been career politicians, have had more than enough time. 53 years is a long time to sort it out, to make sure that you appease your populace. And I'm saying it that plain, all right? So I've already went over the different land laws that the Bahamian government have introduced without a proper tallying. And here we go, there's more discrepancy. But you could bet when it comes down to election, you'll have one government say, well, you only gave 78 properties to Bahamians. And the other one say, well, we're broad shoulder, we gave 356 approvals to Bahamian. I go like, really? We put the two of y'all together, that come up less than 500 approval for property for Bahamians, and a population that wavers between 250,000 350,000, never over a million or half a million. And we're like, what is the bragging rights here? And we're asking them in the House of Assembly, make it make sense to the Bahamian people, please. So you're going to brag about how much land distribution you did between you, and it's less than 500. We look at our population ratio and go like, this don't make any sense. You're not moving fast enough for us. As a matter of fact, you're moving too slow. But on the other hand, they can sell property in Andres. The acre is phenomenal. It's phenomenal, the acre. For $18 million. Yeah, to grow some egg farm. 100 and something acres. 130 acres. And you do that a lot of time just before the election with other properties that you've detailed, given to whomever, which is fine, maybe the Bahamian, so I want to tread lightly when I say that. But the success rate of government involvement in things that grow our economy is not happening. It's too political. The Coalition of Independence wants to fix that. We want to make it more Bahamian oriented, focused, rather than political. And again, let me repeat this. The Coalition of Independence are of Bahamians, of like-minded, like myself and others, who have never governed as a country government, but they see the plight of Bahamians not being represented. And that is the crux of it. It's become too political and everything, and what it does to our society, which we are loving Bahamian people, right? It divides us. We can't even have a conversation on something as sensible as land, something as sensible as policing, something as sensible as in hurricane preparedness, because they, not the COI, the political parties, makes everything too political, and it kills our society. And hence why we do have an issue. So this is what I want to resoundingly say. We have laws in our books, right? And we don't need to make up more laws to cause more confusion. There needs to be a correction in what's on the books right now. And we feel that the government hinder these laws because they don't follow laws, protocols, and make sure follow our landlord laws through, because, and I'm going to say this, and I'm not going to say allegedly, okay? They make a muck out of everything. Look at the deal with Bahama. Oh God, my head hurts. Look at the deal with Bahama. Would you say that was politically ruined because the two political parties couldn't stand each other? So they're going to go all war out for 15 years to build one hotel. The other political party wanted to get all the stores. I mean, all of the stores and all the license for the stores. And I mean, it was like so embarrassing globally, because this does not depict all of us, the Bahamian people. It was just them in that House of Assembly. That was a total embarrassment to our country because career politicians continue to act insolent, immature, and do not represent the diaspora on the outside of that House of Assembly. And that's why we have a problem with it. Look at education. Look at the medical. Okay, I remember Doctor Hospital used to be the hospital. I'm not saying anything about Doctor Hospital. The Princess Margaret Hospital, I'm going to digress a little bit, just a little bit, because I'm not going to be on long. The Princess Margaret Hospital. The reason why I am adamant about good health, I never want to be sick. My family, I try to teach them to don't ever get sick. Y'all think this is not serious. Proper health care is something that any government would want for its people. Now I get it. Government can be and shouldn't be on every entity. I really don't think they should. I think they need to get themselves out of the medical field, just completely revamp the Ministry of Health, because it shouldn't be political. Now, you can't save your people and also attack your people when you allow so many fast food restaurants that is garbage juice. Do you all know that we can live off the land and be more healthy than any other country? And this is one of my pet peeves because I like fitness. But no, they make a mock out of our health industry. So what do you think they can do about the land? We need a proper registry. The Coalition of Independence will make sure that happens, and there will be a committee. And other than you holding a cabinet position, which is a conflict of interest, should not be on this committee. It should be separate and apart with people who are concerned about their land. As simple as that. It don't take a brain scientist to figure that out. All right, so yeah, I just think that they failed us with regards to our country's land registry, land distribution, and the fairness of distribution for the local Bahamians. And COI will stand behind the Bahamians to make sure that this stops. That's it. It's no long word. I'm not here to have solid words. I'm not into that, right? Now we're going to move on to the land division, distribution, or land concerns that the COI has on its platform, the Coalition of Independence platform on the Vision 2030. I'm at 3.1. This here is about sustainable land and climate resilience. Well, you know we say about the climate in the Bahamas, right? After Dorian, when he goes in charge of the climate, no matter how you try to speak this climate change, it is what it is. It's going to happen. It's been like that since the Bible days. So I won't try to see if I can fix the climate as per se. But there are things you can do, and the COI has put it in its mandate, that you can build a more resilient community. So when the climate gets worse than Dorian, which we pray that doesn't happen again, that you will have infrastructure in place that can be resiliently refurbished and so on and so forth. So let me just say what's on the mandate. You know, we want to reinvent the whole spiel. In the Bahamas, we don't, it's not about reinventing it, you know. Let me tell you what it's about. It's so badly broken and badly managed and maintained. So when we do have a Dorian, which I lived through, I was here, the recovery effort is at a very high magnitude, because you know why? The Maryland man in the House of Assembly wasn't prepared. Not only that, they've always been depending on others, but they don't want to take responsibility for their own country's issues. So they think, oh, we'll just wait. You know, it's always been this way. We'll have shelters in the church. Sometimes the church get damaged, the school get damaged, and it goes to tell you have not maintained anything in our society for a hurricane preparedness. But again, this helps. This is something that we can't actually sustain or prevent, but how the COI is looking at it, right? This is how we're looking at it. We've also mentioned to the government, just like these laws that were formed in 1956, right? We now live in the 21st century, so we need resilience more than anything. And because of the career politicians always putting their, I don't know, they're just in the way. They're just in the way. We have to catch up on maybe 20 years of going in backwardness. So we don't need the old guys to stay there and try to stop it because they feel that, we're going to take away all of their what? Money? Listen, you've not been sharing that thing called the money equally. When you put VAT on already high, expensive prices, you don't show us you love us. And then you can throw it in our face that you've collect millions upon millions of VAT money. And then we look at the price of egg and milk, these practical things, grits, yellow grits, water. We look at all these prices, we go like corned beef, because you all like corned beef, okay? This is ridiculous. How do you expect a society to sustain itself, right? Then you're eating garbage, and then you got problems with your internal. You stress out so much from what the prices are compared to the United States. We cannot compare ourselves to the United States. Our prices are ridiculous. Even with the VAT, we get no rebates. I've never heard any of the VAT payers, which is the businesses in the Bahamas, they didn't tell me, we get no rebates on VAT. All we get is prices will go up, 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 up. Every foreigner or visitor who comes to the Bahamas, bring your own food, because obviously it's getting ridiculous. I'm sorry, but I have to call it like I see it. So we got to develop a country in the 21st century that emphasizes on sustainable living and the environment, conscious and resilient climate threats that we are suffering from right now. We got to have a perspective where whatever we do going forward is sustainable. Like, you have to multitask. You got to have to look, step left, and hold a coconut tree up one time. That's the type of environment we need, because we've been held back too long, and it's frustrating. Okay, just plan for disaster preparedness. That's in conjunction to the land and how we build things and how we prepare for hurricane disaster, how reactive we seem to be. No, sorry, let me take that back. Not we being reactive. We are talking about the government being reactive and making everything political. People suffering after the hurricane. I mean, it's the worst ever. It's when the Bahamians be the humblest, because they just get back down to earth, because they understand English. Everything you've owned, car, house, life, could be swept away in a hurricane. So everybody after that attack who survived it and who stayed, which I did during Dorian, get a humility in a way that it's overwhelming. And in pockets everywhere, each person suffer from their hurricanes, and it's devastating. And we got to keep things like this in mind. How we build for the future here on. Make sure it's sustainable homes. But before we get to sustainable homes and building infrastructure, we got to fix what's broken. That's how I'm looking at it, all right? But our plan for disasters and preparedness since Dorian opened our eyes to upgrade the building homes infrastructurally, and also making it sustainable, making it more sounder, making it more, bringing it in 21st century. Let me just put it that way. Remember, I say you got to fix things first before you can introduce things, right? You can't expect to put old wine or good new wine in old sackcloth or whatever you call it, in old bottle or whatever. You know what I'm saying, okay? This is what we need. We need a proper, and this is under the mandate of the Coalition of Independence, we need a proper national plan for planning and zoning. That, let me tell you something, when a system is in place and it just going on autopilot with people who don't know what they're doing, and they ain't never built a house in their life, they ain't never built a road in their life, and they get political position so they could get the job, but they ain't doing the job. And I go like, this don't make no sense. I need things to make sense to me, because when I come up to someone who, when they even speak, don't make no sense, I'd be like, okay, I just scratch my head and say, anyway, God bless you. Let's move on. You know, we lack comprehensive land use plans, okay? The COI will introduce more of a modern update. National land use and management. Okay? They don't want it to be political. First of all, I don't think, it's me, and I'm sure the COI feel this way. You're a cabinet minister in the Senate, in the House of Assembly, making all that noise. You should be representing how to uplift your society as in economic growth, right? I don't think you should be a senator slash, but you can't be a senator and you could be a parliamentary. You got to be one or the other. But you can't be one or the other and then you on the board for let me think of something that where they really don't need to be on that board. Any one of those boards, whatever the boards are, any one of them, I think it's a conflict of interest because you have not really dealt with your problems that you were elected for. That's how I look at it. Because I don't see it working. I don't see it working because if you have 1, 2, 3, 4 position and you use a parliamentary, but you're on that board for that ministry, but that ministry failing miserably, let's use social service. Yeah, let's use that one. I mean, that keep failing. It's like a money drain. You're not even growing the economy so people could be inspired to do for themselves and motivate them. You become a lackey leader. Only want people to come to you and write you a letter for something, and then you still ain't doing it and you ain't paying attention. And then you have this decline in the society, and people who live there, you know, they come in and they smiling. Yeah, they come into work and they smiling and trying to do their job, but they are not being encouraged. It's like you keep this void. You keep pouring into this void, right? And when the people come to their jobs, they happy. I mean, I don't expect the government to make anyone happy, but I expect the government to make an economy that everybody's thriving. That's the economy is very small. I expect the government to produce. I'm sorry. And then we don't have that. And then we have a dissension in our society. Beautiful island, you know. Beautiful people. But they are living below the standard in which they should be living. They should be living at a higher standard. Yes, higher than your politician. I believe that right now. I don't believe no politician should be living higher than its people when the people suffering. I'm sorry. I can be real with you. And I know y'all feeling it out there too. So if y'all feeling it out there, share it please. Because this garbage juice that they have in House Assembly, they flying over the place and have fancy car, buying a plane. What happened? You can't use Bahamas here no more? Oh, okay. You don't go to the hospital no more? Why? You don't trust nobody? Because you know the hospital isn't the best and you won't give it to us? And we supposed to accept that? Payments, look out for yourself, yeah? Politicians looking out for themselves, you look out for yourself. You vote what's necessary for right now, okay? So, I'm going to end here. Because I'm going to end at 3.1, sustainable land and climate resilience. Because if proper infrastructure is not in place with what we got now, we can always have a problem. Okay? We can always have a problem. We're kind people in the Bahamas, but we've been misused as in giving your Bahamian people the best. No politician should be over its people. Living the best life, the best house, the best. I ain't into no house and car. I'll tell you the truth right now. I ain't into that. But I think it comes after 53 years. And this law confusion with this land. Too many of them. It ain't a balance. And if someone say they love you, they got to show that and prove they love you, Bahamians. I know y'all get your little turkey for Christmas and your little fridge, but Jesus. And they should have been able to give y'all one land for Christmas. So for 2026, you trying to figure out all the money you're going over to Miami to spend so you could stock up, because you know you can't afford the food locally. And whatever you buy, that's your business. But don't y'all get tired of that? Y'all ain't get tired of that? Well, listen here, if a politician came around me with turkey, let me tell you what I'd do with that turkey and him. I'll be real. I don't even want the turkey. I want something much bigger than turkey. Plastic doll babies for the children. I want proper education. I want smart schools. Okay? I don't want your, what you call it? I don't want your coupons from social service. I don't want you coming around me talking, but I can promise you if you vote for me now, I gonna sign this huge contract to expand the container port, and I can get a job for my what? My grandchildren? That's it? That's all you want? Anyway, I'm gonna end here by saying, I'm gonna read this and I'm gonna end. So I wanna go and work out in the gym. The strategic plan outline on how the crown land will be distributed, will be distributed to family, which each adult Bahamian to be entitled to 1 acre. I push for more, but the COI say 1 for now, okay? Because it is what it is, okay? Because from 1956 and 17 years into our independence, they ain't get this land crap sorted out yet, and I like, this ain't working no more. But the COI will promise that. And you can use it for residential, commercial, these or, okay, and let's say you could do everything on one, but because we live in 21st century, I know we could chew gum and run the same time. I know we could do that. Agriculture and other productive use. Land for productive use. And I know why you wonder, and I'm repeating that, because I don't know who allows any nationality to go on land, right? And structurally, buildings are in all different directions. There's no proper road. There's mud pea. That's why they call it mud pea in Abaco. And from an aerial perspective, you show, and then there's a building code law that they break. No other country allow that but Haiti. I can put it there for you. No other country allow this. But then they come on our land and try to confuse our landmass, our landowners, and how to properly attain and qualify for over the Bahamian people. This government allowed this overstep to happen, okay? So these are the strategic outlines. The COI will help with the distribution for family. We want to make it sustainable. We also want to be smart about it, because we don't want you to fail on the land that you're given after you qualify for it. Because I use an example of a Olympic gold medalist was given land. Not like how Jamaicans is give land. They give you the beach property, they give you the crown, they give you the car, they give you all the stuff because you now the king of track and field and you win the Olympics or whatever. Unlike our government, who said they love us, gave a golden boy who won an Olympic a piece of property, I don't know how much acres it was, in a bush somewhere, with no proper infrastructure, utilities, no nothing. That's sad. We want to prevent that in the Coalition of Independence, okay? This plan is for the Bahamians to evolve through education. And education is important first. The COI wants to fix what's broken first. Because if you can't correct what's broken, all of that's going to continue to spill over. And we're going to still have the same problem we have. So I don't want those to feel paranoid, who don't like order, who don't like to be corrected, who don't want to do what's right, who don't want to pick up the garbage around them. Gotta hire people to pick up garbage because you decide. Who don't want to set up shops properly, Who wants to change the look of our country into some other country? Waiting for that. There's a certain standard the COI wants to help its people to rise to. Okay? And that's why we always say, change ain't coming. Change is here. And it's now 2026. Bahamians, whether you get this or not, and I'm going to make sure I share it, and I'm asking others to share it, whether you get this or not, the COI is not about dividing between two political parties. They're about exposing the issues. And yes, we've only had two political parties that actually have us where we are right now. And they're about educating you. So when you go to the polls in a couple of months, you know exactly why. And you will be holding us accountable once we get in there, because we're going to do what we got to do. We're looking out for our people first because it's time. Too long we've been pushed back, stopped, frustrated because we have visionless, career politicians who feel it's always their time. But that has to stop. Bahamians, take a stand. Take a stand now, and I'm asking you and begging you to vote in something different. Just give us just one chance. One chance. Let's make it right. Nobody's taking nothing from nobody, you know. But let me tell you something. I'm adamant about this. When laws are broken, and criminal activities appears to be the norm in one society, I got a problem with that. Now, if you don't have a problem with that, too bad. I have grandkids, and I want them to grow up how I grew up in West End. I want them to be free, to know that nobody will come to bring no harm to them. And I don't care who children they are. And that's the type of society we need now. We're not feeling that. You know why? Those who've done wrong have not been corrected. Again, if you want to be a part of the COI and you want to make sure that the standards go higher, these are several things I'm asking you to do. First, I want you to share this. Secondly, I want you to become a member. Thirdly, I want you to give a good faith donation to your future, your children's future. Okay? It can be any amount. We're not putting any amount on it. Any amount you want. If you want to make an anonymous donation, you can contact me. I will make sure it happened. Okay? No fun for no longer now will we sit and walk in no fear of anyone. Anyone. When you do something that's incorrect, it should be exposed. Bring shame so you can do it right the next time. You pay for the penalty of doing something wrong, and then you've learned your lesson and won't do it again. And that filters down in the society. And this is what we need in the Bahamas. We need something safer, better, and the standard higher.